Book Dragons. I am back to do my July reading wrap up. It is midway through July, which is sad because that means my summer is getting closer. Well, we still have months. We still have a couple of weeks, but midway through July at least. And I'm having a good time. It has definitely been a relaxing moment. I have read a lot, caught up a lot of stuff, which is really, really good. I have also finally dusted off my heavy books and my chunky books, which is what I normally do in the summer. I read a lot in the summer, but it's normally like massive books, which is actually kind of exciting because those are my favorite. So we are going to talk about stats. We're going to talk about what I read in the first half of the month and anything I'm looking forward to in the second half of the month and my reading plans. So yeah, let's get into it. If you followed me in June, June was a bit rough. We are making a pivot. And I just think, like, I always operate best when I, like, work on a schedule that I like. So, like, waking up at 6:45, doing what I want, doing fun stuff is always more, like, enjoyable for me. And I love my job. Like, I love my students. We have a fun time. But this is just me time, which I love. So, yeah. But I wound up reading 9 books in the month of July so far, for an average pages of 3,448. Average page out in a K was about 111. And actually, it's pretty consistent. I do probably read every day. Some days not so much, but I try to read every day. That's my goal. Average page count was 383. My most read genre was mystery. I read 3 books with rep, 9 from authors I read before, and I have hauled 0 books. I just haven't done my haul stats yet. I have 3 5-star, 1 4.5-star, 3 4-star, 1 3.5-star, for an average rating of 3.89. I read 5 new release, 3 backlist, and 1 from last year. I read 5 physical, 4 audiobooks, 0 mixed media, and 0 ebooks. I started 2 series. I continued in 4, and I read 3 standalones and 4 companions. And I read 1 young adult and 8 adult. And then I read 4 arcs, 4 from Audible, and 1 from M1 owned. And then I read 4 mystery, 4 fanro, and 1 romance. It's definitely been a very, very high fantasy romance month. Alright. So, when I start these vlogs, I always do my nonfiction. I just didn't do that this month, to be very honest. I was coming back from a trip, like, that day, and I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to read nonfiction this month. I might pick it up next month. We will see, like, what I'm in the mood for. But the first book that I finished was just a carryover from the Amazing Readathon. I was really hoping to finish it, and I read Do Not Disturb by Ellie Alexandra. This is book 15 in the Meet Your Baker series. I will attach a photo here. One of the main characters is getting married, and it had like a murder connected to that. And I like this book. I always give these books 4 stars. They're super fun, super engaging. It's a very, very diverse, cozy mystery series and like well written. I never really can see where the mystery is going. So I read that. And if you're looking for a longer cozy mystery series, that's why I've been listening to so many mysteries this year, because I really wanted to get that done. So yeah, I did that. I wanted to give him 4 stars and I did like it. And then my first book I read was not the plan, because I don't normally read mystery thrillers. Sometimes I do, but this one was one of the last books I got at ALA, so it was at the top of my bag. I read This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winston, and I really, really like this book. I gave this book 4.75 stars. Like, I really enjoyed it. I think the only downside of this book is it didn't feel that connected to any of the characters, really. Like, the main character, yes, but no one else, really. But you basically follow these arms-loose detectives. After Jane lost her father, she became very invested in this true crime case, and she winds up teaming up with these armchair sleuths and these online people to kind of like her online friends to try to solve a murder. And it was really, really good. It kind of showed the dark side of true crime, and I have many, many years I was like a very, very big true crime person. Like, I love true crime. But then I found it very, very exploitative. So this kind of looks at both sides of this. This is very much inspired by the Idaho murders. Like, it's very much inspired by that. But I just had a fun time. It was quick. I read it in like a day, and it's almost like a 500-page book, and I read it pretty quickly. The only thing I will say is that the characters didn't really make an impression, but the story was interesting. So that's one for this. And then I wound up reading another Ellie Alexandra book, which I also gave 4 stars. It was a Muffin But the Truth. I will attach a photo here. I normally always give these 4 stars. This one had to do with like a corporate retreat gone wrong and there was a murder. We had a little bit more of our main character, Jules. Her family was involved in this one. It was really, really fun. I gave it 4 stars and I enjoyed it. And then my first official ARC read from ALA was The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. I love this book. I really did love this book. I gave this book 5 stars, and I think that if you read The Spell Shop and liked it but wanted a bit more romance, you should pick this book up. This book follows the person that created Kaz. Now, if you don't know who Kaz is, you should definitely read The Spell Shop, but it's kind of loosely connected to that. So you kind of get her story. This is definitely more of a soft romantasy. You find that character. She's basically shipped to this enchanted greenhouse, like this island that has a lot of greenhouses, and she is forced to team up with the gardener to figure out why these enchanted greenhouses are fading. The reason she is in this prison, or where she was put in there, is because she did illegal magic, and she has to use her magic to kind of save the day. And it's really, really cute. I gave this book 5 stars. You get to meet Rose, who's one of my favorite characters of all time now. So yeah, this book just came out. I think it came out yesterday, but I read it earlier. I got to meet Sarah Beth Durst. She signed my book, and I was so happy. This was my first 5-star read of the month, and I'm so excited that I read it. And then the next book that I read was another highly anticipated book. I also read Warrior Princess Assassin by Bridget Kimmerer. This comes out in August. You will see a lot of my books are tabbed. Any book that I was home and I was reading, I have tabbed them, and that's just because when I'm home a lot, I do tab a lot of books. So, this book is her first foray into adult romantasy, and I love this story. I gave this book 5 stars, and I think that this may be my favorite book she's ever written. It definitely is steamy. It definitely has elevated spice. I will say that. I will say it is steamy. Very, very steamy. You have 3 characters, a warrior, princess, and assassin. Basically, the princess has to marry a warrior, but her best friend is the assassin, and they have some entanglements as they try to figure out what is going on. A lot of political intrigue, a lot of spice. There was a twist I didn't know going in, so I'm not going to give it away in my review, but if you like a political heavy storyline with 3 very, very unique characters, I would pick this story up. Just know that it is adult, it is elevated steam, but I thought the political entanglements, I thought that all 3 characters, because you do get all 3 characters' point of views, I thought they were very, very well done. I thought they looked at the world in such different ways, and I really am excited for book 2 in this series. So yeah, that is where we are with this one. I gave it 5 stars, and you should definitely check it out this August. Yeah, and then the next book that I read is another Ellie Alexander. I read Catch Me If You Candy, and this one was one that I read because I just was in the mood to keep reading it. It is a Halloween one. I will attach a photo of that here. This is a 4-star read. It was Halloween based, and I liked it. I don't think it's, it was fun. It wasn't my favorite in the series, but it was enjoyable, and I'm happy that I took a little bit of a break because I read so many of those in like 2 months. So nice mini break, but it was a fun read. If you're looking for a new cozy mystery series, I would recommend that one. And then I needed something a little bit lighter. I picked up I'll Find You Where the Timeline Ends by Kylie Lee Baker. This is a action adventure romantasy, I guess you could say. Basically, you follow a character who's a rogue agent where timeline ends, and she's basically the descendants of a dragon god, and they have to kind of figure out what is happening with the timeline. I will say, this book is only 300 pages, and I felt like world building was a little bit lackluster. I think that the world was not as developed as it could have been, but I thought it was a fun, sweet read, and I really, really liked it. It was a fun one. There was a little bit of a romance, very, very self-discovery, and I had a fun time with it. I just don't think the world was that developed, but I thought it was really, really cute. If you're looking for a sweet romantasy, or just like a sweet romance, I'd pick this one up with a little bit of a mythology twins. This one is one that I would recommend, and I just thought it was very, very cute palette cleanser. And I liked all the characters too. I just think the world was not as fleshed out as I was hoping. But I gave it 4 stars, and I really, really had a fun time with it. And then I read Arcana Academy by Elise Kova, and I struggled with this a little bit. I only gave this book 3.75 stars, and I think the reason I struggled with it was because it was so big. I think it was so big, and there were so many characters, and that was a hindrance to me. This book is a very, very slow-paced story, but also there were so many characters, and I just think it felt a little bit bloated. The story felt a little bit bloated to me, so like I had a hard time feeling that connected to the characters. Basically, you follow this character and she can do tarot, but she has magical powers, but you're not supposed to have magical powers unless you go to this academy. A prince finds her, the prince of the land, and he kind of takes her to this academy to kind of be there, and things go from there. She's hunting for her lost sister, and there were just too many characters that we met that none of them were that unique and that different. The romance was fine. There was a twist at the end that I kind of saw coming, but I would definitely read more. I just wish that like we had fewer characters so I could care about them. So I only gave this book 3.75 stars. That was kind of the downside of this month so far. And then the last book I read was The Breakup Pact by Emma Lord, and I gave this book 5 stars, but here's a photo. This was phenomenal. I love this story. It's been so long since I read a romance. You'll see a lot of my stats is all mysteries and thrillers. I love this book. This was a second chance romance from Emma Lord, and I loved it. You basically follow these two characters, and they're basically like acquaintances now, but they used to be best friends. They had a little bit of a falling out, and the person they both know, like the girl's sister, passed away a couple of years ago, but she's running this tea shop that's not doing very, very well. They both had very, very public breakups. And they decide to fake date to give her restaurant a little bit more publicity, so maybe that she'll get people in the door, and it goes from there. It's heartwarming. It's second chance. It's set in a beach town. It's a little bit baking inspired, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It was one of my favorite reads of the month, my favorite audiobook by far. And yeah, what did I do this month? I saw John Proctor as the villain, which was really, really exciting. I saw her play with my dad in the city, which was really exciting, and I've watched a lot of TV. I binge watched the end of The Resident. I'm in the middle of watching Dr. Odyssey. I also am in the middle of watching Rescue 911. I keep on calling this really 911, and I'm having a really, really good summer. I can't wait to come back at the end of the summer and give the end of July and tell you guys the rest of the books that I read, but I am living my best life, friends. Let me know in the comments what's your favorite book of the month. I would love to know. If I had to choose, I would say I have 3 favorites, which is pretty good. I really liked Warrior Princess Assassin for a bit of a spicier time, for a cozier time, The Enchanted Greenhouse, and for an audiobook-wise, The Breakup Pact by Emma Lord. Let me know in the comments if you're going to check out any of those below. I would love to know. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.